Pay homage, respect. Acknowledge the rap. Pay homage, respect. Acknowledge the rap.
Hey, welcome back everyone to the Progressive Brothers Podcast. This is episode 43. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Progressive Brothers Podcast. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at brothers_podcast. So today's topic, political pick-me's. So what is a political pick-me? So basically a political pick-me is being defined as someone who's looking for validation from the party that does not represent their best interests. And so, what does this mean ultimately? And what kind of examples can I demonstrate here? What it means ultimately is that a political pick-me is always leveraging talking points from a party that does not represent their best interests. And so they wait for the party to create the talking points so that they can actually go out in public, whether it's public media, social media, and actually go out there and leverage these talking points against what they consider to be their adversaries or their opposition, and that happens to be people on the left. Now, debate is good, but debate only matters between two people who are equally knowledgeable about a topic that they fundamentally disagree on. But the political pick-me doesn't have the intellectual capacity to actually debate anybody. What they do is they jump to every opportunity to engage, but wait for the talking points to come from the party itself. And so in this case, we're talking about black conservatives in general, but black male conservatives in particular. So why do we focus on black male conservatives here? The reason why we focus on black male conservatives is because these are the most vocal demographic within the minority movement on the right. And if we look at, the previous administration, starting from 2016 back to 2020, very short-lived, and the political pick-me only became conservative when the previous administration came into office. Prior to that, they were liberals. Prior to that, they weren't even politically engaged. They only go to that side because it's an easy opportunity to get their voice heard, but their voice is only being heard because they're reading from the same script that satisfies the main contributors of the party, who happen not to look like them. And so they claim to share these values. They're always talking about values. And these values are not really consistent with reality. Let's talk about reproductive rights. The same party that wants to, talk about reproductive rights, Roe v. Wade, these same black male conservatives or the political pick-me's will take these talking points and go out in public and try to use it against their own people who happen to be on the left. But they never use it against people who don't look like them, who's on the right. And so the political pick-me aspect of it is that they're always antagonizing, stalking, and engaging people on the left because they think that the problem is on the left, but in reality, you had a 7-2 Supreme Court majority conservative who did nothing about abortion. But they have nothing to say about those people on the right, because for them to engage the people on the right means that they lose their place. So being a political pick-me means that you'll do anything for the validation of those that happen to be on the right. This doesn't happen on the left because you can't carry water, because the left is a fragmented group. You have the establishment, you have center left, you have progressives, you have neo-progressives, you have typical leftists, people broken down by ethnicity, whether they're Latino or they're white or they're black or they're other minority, Native American, indigenous. So you have a broader spectrum of people on the left that you can't really get away with being a political pick-me, because everybody has their own vested interests, but at the same time, the party is the infrastructure that they use to advance their goals. Whereas political pick-me's on the right, they only have that party, and then that's where it stops. So whatever the party says, like CRT, critical race theory, Christopher Russo, who was the main progenitor behind this anti-CRT movement, these same political pick-me's are the first ones to jump out there and ride the wave to engage people on the left without actually understanding the history. And so they do whatever they can to appease those who are in power of the political party, because that's the only way they can get their voice heard. They have no other means of engaging people without actually reading or listening to those who hold the most prominent positions on the right. And so they're always trying to find opportunity to grab whatever soundbite they can get, whether it's from Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, you name your favorite pundit, and they latch on to those people within the party itself. And so the political pick-me aspect is always looking for validation, always hanging around. They buy the memorabilia, whether it's a t-shirt or a hat, a members only jacket. They're always looking for that sort of validation. They want to be down so bad that they're willing to throw people who look just like them from a different party and share a different ideology under the bus just to appease those on the right. Now, it's a free country and people are allowed to do whatever they want to do. But to understand the political pick-me, there's a level of desperation that is involved in all of this. Always talking about liberal women, whether it's Gwen Berry now, Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, they're always looking for the liberal woman. And they think that attacking those liberal women is going to increase their value to the people on the right. And the political pick-me aspect is cultivated out of disdain for not just their own people, but the people on the left as a whole. So how do you engage these people if their whole entire perspective is structured around giving political fellatio to Caucasian people who happen to uphold evangelical values? Whether it's reproductive rights, Christianity, Protestant views, Zionist views for that matter. I've heard black, these political pick-me's actually side with Israel over Palestinians and then pretend that they're actually making a legitimate point and they don't even know the history of it. But that's the whole purpose of all of this. You don't have to know the history to be a political pick-me. You don't have to actually read to be a political pick-me. You don't have to actually be informed. You just have to sound like you are informed, because they get their sound bites from those people who have all of the most vocal points within the party itself. And most of these people are not even in the party. They're actually entertainers within the party, right? Sean Hannity is not in office. Glenn Beck is not in office. Tommy Lauren is not in office. Candace Owens is not in office, right? And so they latch on to these people because they don't really have the literacy to actually defend their own talking points. So what they try to do is wait for these people to actually go live, or whenever they hear the next ding on Twitter, whenever they post something on Twitter, and they take those same talking points and they bring it back into the common space and try to engage people on the left or independents or whoever they think is in opposition to them, and they create adversaries out of them. And that makes them feel really good because they did a good job for their brethren who happen to be on the right. And so the political pick-me is always going to be looking for validation, and that's really the main point. The political validation is more important than actually knowing the history. And giving political fellatio is part of the process. Whether the constituents over there are satisfied or not, they have no problem giving political fellatio to these people at the expense of throwing other black people under the bus, whether they're on the left or not, because it's all one big grift. Now, I'll close out with Ben Sass and his 5 principles of conservatism. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at brothers_podcast.
I listen to Nebraskans every day, and very few of them are as angry about life as some of the people on this committee. Not all of you, but a lot. Political addicts don't represent most Nebraska conservatives. Let's be clear. The anger in the state party has never been about me violating principle or abandoning conservative policy. I'm one of the most conservative voters in the Senate. The anger has always been simply about me not bending the knee to one guy. What Americans saw 3 weeks ago was ugly. Shameful mob violence to disrupt a constitutionally mandated meeting of the Congress to affirm that peaceful transfer of power. It happened because the president lied to you. He lied about the election results for 60 days, despite losing 60 straight court challenges, many of them handed down by wonderful Trump-appointed judges. He lied by saying that the vice president could just violate his constitutional oath and declare a new winner. That wasn't true. He then riled a mob that attacked the Capitol, many chanting, "Hang Pence." If that president were a Democrat, we both know how you'd respond. But because he had Republican behind his name, you're defending him. Something has definitely changed over the last 4 years, but it's not me. Personality cults aren't conservative. Conspiracy theories aren't conservative. Lying that an election has been stolen, it's not conservative. Acting like politics is a religion, it isn't conservative. Nebraskans aren't rage addicts, and that's good news. You are welcome to censure me again, but let's be clear about why this is happening. It's because I still believe, as you used to, that politics isn't about the weird worship could purge Trump skeptics. But I'd like to convince you that not only is that civic cancer for the nation, it's just terrible for our party.